Oye, oye, esa musiquita always gets me going, ya tú sabes.
Oh my God, that caught us by surprise, huh?
That did. Well, anyway, here we are. We did make it somehow. I'm Carlos Frías, Miami Herald food editor, here every week with Amy Reyes.
How you doing?
What's going on?
Nothing much. Just over here thinking about croquetas and stuff. We're down to our final four.
That's like an evergreen thought.
It
Thinking
is.
about
I'm never
croquetas.
not thinking about croquetas.
Yeah, so that croqueta poll, which is just like people write in their favorite croquetas, is like everybody's going crazy. People are voting like crazy on that poll.
Insane. It's pretty insane. And the biggest shocker is who's in the lead right now, Carlos.
Let's have it.
There is this place in Coral Gables that I have never been to called Well Fed, and they are like literally smashing the competition. At this point, we're gonna have to go to Well Fed and see what is so special about these croquetas because they're ahead of Cow Bakery, they're ahead of Versailles, and they're ahead of another sleeper sleeper ranker of Babes. ¿Cómo se
Babes,
llama?
Babes Meat Encounter.
Meat
Yeah.
Encounter. Yeah.
Yeah, those guys are
So
great. You
they're
don't say
kind
okay.
of
I don't know what a well fed is, but I know they got good bots, good voting bots, or they got
they
lots
got
of
they
people
got
that are
very
voting.
enthusiastic fans. That's
Yes.
what we can say about them.
Thousands fans voting by the thousands. So
They
we'll keep
are.
an eye
They're
on
voting
that.
by the thousands. They're not giving up. They're like, we like these croquetas.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that and see how that goes until we get down to the final two, and then the final,
And then
which croqueta got the most online votes, and we'll find out who that is. And no, but we have other stuff to talk about today. We have Nunzio's, which is a restaurant that was out in the western suburbs. It's a family Italian restaurant, and it's closing after 48 years. But it's one of those things like I've heard people say, "Oh, what a shame," but it's actually a pretty great story. Like these folks, they came from Italy with nothing, with their five kids, and now like their youngest of their kids is retiring. So that little business provided for two generations of kids through through their working lives. So I think that's
yeah,
like a success. You got to applaud them.
yeah,
Actually,
that's amazing. And in Miami, a restaurant that lasts, 50 years and three generations. That's pretty.
you
That's
know
pretty
what?
awesome.
You know what's funny is the owner is like, "Listen, when you write this, can you write it after we close already?"
I
And I
know.
was and I was like, "No, but people want to know." And he's like, "All right, fine. It's just gonna be crazy." And I
Yeah.
was told a colleague of ours sent me a note saying that there was an hour and a half wait for a table
Oh my
yesterday on a
God.
Wednesday night
Oh my God. Everybody's loading up on their red sauce.
on their red sauce, man. So
That's sad though.
I guess go get yourself some Nunzios or
R.I.P.
don't
Nunzios.
give the guy a break and don't go see him for God's sake.
No, do go see him. Let him go out with a bang,
You know who you should go see is they should go see Old Greg's.
right?
Yeah, because people.
Tell us about that place.
Yeah, so you remember this place? This is a place that kind of went viral online on Instagram. Basically, when all the restaurants shut down, this guy Greg Tetzner and his partner, his longtime partner, who's in the like food PR business, they just started baking pizzas out of their kitchen oven, like just as something to keep busy, something to kind of make ends meet. And because people had nothing better to do on Instagram, and because all her friends are like influencers, it became like this huge viral hit. And it took them 2 years, but they finally have opened
They gave
a
birth to
legit
their
restaurant.
pandemic baby.
Yes, they did, and it's got 10 fingers and 10 toes and 10 slices of pepperoni.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's
So
that's in the
what
design
did you think of
district.
the pizza?
I thought the pizza was fantastic. I'd had the square pizza, and the recipe's changed a little. It's a little bit thinner, and it's really great. It's like a square pizza, but what he always wanted to do was make kind of this round, chewy pizza, and that's what they're doing now. And it's really fantastic. It's easily one of the best like like round pizzas that I've had in Miami. I think it's great. Like the dough kind of pulls apart. It's chewy, but not the kind where you're like your jaw hurts after you've had three slices. Yeah, exactly. Not like that Papa John's chew. Like, oh, I hurt my cheek. No, it's really good.
Nice.
Well, no, listen. I think we've kept our guest waiting long enough, but I'm going to give him a little intro. Our guest today is Zach Stern. Now, Zach's name is synonymous with the best artisanal bread in Miami. He started baking bread out of his parents' South Dade garage, a couple loaves at a time, and people would stand in these long lines at farmers markets just to take him a loaf. And now, guess what? He's a finalist for one of the most prestigious awards in food, the James Beard Award. And he's got this outstanding all kosher bakery in Wynwood. But so success isn't a straight line, right? So we're gonna ask him about that journey from working his way across European farms, making goat cheese, being a goat farmer, baking bread. I want to ask him about why, as you can see, he shaved his distinctive beard during the pandemic. And I want to ask him about his Sawaseda accent, his love of Miami bass music, and why he got kicked out of Hebrew school. So, welcome to the show, Zach. What's going on?
Thanks for having me, guys. I don't mean to be a party pooper, but I cannot hear a word you're saying. You guys kind of sound like chipmunks, like alien chipmunks that are purring constantly, like purring chipmunks. Real, it's. I can't understand what you guys are saying.
Oh no, we will try to. We'll
Kind
try
of like,
to fix.
kind of like that.
It's,
Oh no!
All right.
Can you
All
hear
right.
us at all though?
Yeah, I've tried all the basic troubleshooting, but I heard you guys backstage fine just now. You
All
just
right,
sound
well-
like chipmunks.
Well, Pierre,
Purring chipmunks.
let's put Zach backstage for a minute to try to work out his issues, and then we'll jabber on for a minute.
Too bad we can't play his theme music.
This
he
is
had
the
a really
beauty-
great song
Yes,
selected for.
okay. So Zach, every time that I've talked to him, he's like, man, every time I'm on a podcast or any time I'm on like a any kind of like interview show or whatever, he goes, I always imagine that I would have entrance music like baseball batters coming up to bat. And he's like, and the entrance song would be Esa Morena from DJ Laz, which is like, I wish you could play it, but YouTube will flag us. There you go.
Oops.
Dun, 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 dun.
I don't think YouTube hears it.
Esa Morena, que buena está. Da, da, da,
So this is
da,
pretty
da,
interesting
pa
that this is the
vacilar.
song that he wants to come in with. Okay, I'll stop it before we get in trouble.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's because he's a big Miami guy. You know what? I think that's it, what you learn with knowing that Zach is such a big part of like our Miami bread culture, if you want to say that, is that he's just a South Dade kid. He went to, I want to say, Palmetto and maybe Killian. We'll ask him about that. But he just is like a Miami kid. And even though he's like, you know, he's got a kosher bakery, he grew up non-religious, really, you know, more like culturally Jewish.
So if he went to Killian, then that would mean he's from Kendall.
But Kendall's getting a lot of play on this show. I blame you.
I'm saying you're the one who's like, we need to talk to these people. And I'm always just like, yeah, sure, let's talk to them. And then Kendall.
Yeah, but Kendall is it's where the people live.
Pretty much.
So,
it's the,
you know.
it's the heart of Miami.
It is the heart of Miami.
Except for if the heart was like outside of the actual body.
Kind of like when you're kept on life support and the heart is actually beating from the outside.
Exactly.
Zach
Can
the
you-
Baker, can you hear us, bro?
Are we still munchkins?
I hear you, but you guys sound like chipmunks. I'm sorry.
All right.
It's,
Well, you sound amazing. You sound perfect. So
Okay.
I'm sorry. Well, bear with us then, and we'll try to get through it. Unless it gets too terrible, and then you can tell us to
am I the
bug
only
off.
one that hears you guys sounding like this? Is it
Yes.
just me?
You
It's
sound
just
perfect
me.
to us.
It is
Yep.
just you.
You sound perfect to
Story
us.
of my life.
Oh.
Okay.
If we ask you questions, can you understand them though?
It's-
You're being interviewed by chipmunks. Okay, the chipmunks want to know how you feel about getting your James Beard Award nomination. How does it feel to be a James Beard Award finalist?
Guys, I wish I could answer your questions, and I just
no.
have no idea what you're saying. You look great,
no.
though.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. Why don't you try switching out your earbuds, and Amy and I will talk amongst ourselves. Use those.
Wait,
those,
look at the chat. Look at the
those-
chat, Zach.
Use these guys again. Try that. Try using those. Switch them out.
Sure.
Try using these guys. All right. We'll see how that goes. You know what? This is the beauty of a live podcast, bro. Is sometimes stuff is gonna go haywire, but that's okay.
Yeah, it's all good.
Let's talk about some of those other stuff, like I did want to spend a little bit more time on Nunzio's. I've never been to that place. Is that a place that you went to, or did you know about it?
No, I'd never been to Nunzio's either. It's one of the, it's over by FIU, right?
Yeah, I went over there and I asked him. I said I spent some time with the last remaining family member who's running it. This guy Roberto, and Roberto's the second youngest of 5 kids, and when they got to this country, he was 15. So his parents, like his dad, was selling groceries out of the back of a car
In Italy.
In Italy, yeah. So coming to America for them was like they had to remake an entire life. So what I thought was interesting is this idea that his wife, the founder's wife, Nunzio's wife, Gilda, she contacted a cousin that she had in New York, who worked in a restaurant. The restaurant was called Mario's, and she was like, "Can you sponsor us as a family to come to the U.S. And we will work at the restaurant? We want to have some ability to work." So they worked out a deal where she was leaving New York, and they were leaving Italy, and they all kind of met as a family in Miami, in the suburbs of Miami. Imagine in 1974.
Right.
Imagine what that part of like west of Westchester. I guess technically
Right.
it might be Westchester, but I think it's west of it.
Yeah, I
So,
think
like,
you're right. I think it's west of Westchester.
So
Because
over by the
Westchester
Palmetto.
goes to like 87, like, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Like
I think it's
97th
west.
max.
I think it's west of Westchester. They started at a little at the shopping center, that's right across from FIU, right on Coral Way and 97th. And then there was a fire, and they moved out to this other spot, and they were there for another 20 years or what have you. And it's just like there's nothing. They were like there's nothing particularly amazing about what they did, other than they just had these classic Italian American red sauce recipes that they had that their the guy's wife's family had perfected over decades, and they just did them consistently every week, and people loved
They just
that.
built up their following. Did they say why the next generation didn't want to continue?
There's so much of that. I think they just didn't have any kids that were interested in it. Like sometimes you're lucky and a kid or a grandkid has an interest in the family business and they want to take it up and they want to like do it their own way, maybe something or they want to continue the parents' tradition, something that they feel connected to the restaurant. But I think they kind of graduated to, kids that wanted to have different professional careers, and nobody ever really put their arms around it. Mm-hmm. And in that way, I think a restaurant's a little bit like an artist, like it
Right.
exists as long as the passion of this person exists. And when that person either dies, which, the family patriarch died in 2016, I want to say, the mother in 15 and he in 16, when the family, patriarch dies, you kind of, you're left with people trying to decide, do I love this enough to do it again,
Right.
And I guess the answer is that one person, which is all that was left, one person alone couldn't do it.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I wish I would have gotten a chance to go. I'd never even heard of the place, honestly. And I live over west.
Yeah. But you know what? That's Miami too. Miami, a lot of those old time mom and pops are actually, I think, being replaced by like new mom and pops. Really
Yeah.
is what it comes down to. Like, look at Old Greg's, since we were talking about that earlier. I mean, it really doesn't, I mean, other than that they don't have kids, it doesn't get any more mom and pop than that, right?
Right.
Like it's, I think he's 30, Greg Tetzner's 30, Jackie Ritchie, his partner, is 34, I think. She calls herself a cougar, but I don't know if she qualifies in that category. And it's like, you know what? And you can't go wrong with pizza. I mean, you could.
No.
There's such a thing. But even like bad pizza, even bad pizza is good pizza. But their pizza is actually really great.
Oh, you know what? This venue, Old Greg's, is going to be on your next week's cover of the Miami Herald. We're going to put in print for all of the readers, the print readers, something that we've had online for a long time, which is Carlos's Locals Guide to Miami Restaurants. And that restaurant and all of his favorite picks are going to be on display, so you can actually have a physical piece of paper copy in your hands, which is like very old-timey, but it's also actually very helpful because if you like to have that for reference. The reason why Carlos did that whole guide was because we always were annoying him, asking him, where should we go? Where should we, where's your favorite place to go? Because Carlos is usually the guy that you go to when you want to know, where should I eat? And he's one of those people that's never going to send you to a chain, and he's not going to send you to a place that's not, it's not like a super Miami place. And it's a really comprehensive guide to different areas of Miami, but it's the Carlos guide. So everybody should look out for that.
Cool. I hope people
Wait,
will enjoy.
oh my
that.
God. Are we chipmunks?
How about now? We got Zach back. Are we chipmunks or are we humans?
You guys are perfect. I'm so sorry. I think it was my fault.
Yes. Success, Excelsior.
Yeah.
I read the
Technology!
chat. Whoever on the chat told me to reboot my phone. It's like the classic troubleshooting when you call for help.
Yeah,
Have
turn
you
it
tried
off and on
rebooting
again.
your phone?
Yeah. Have you tried turning it off and on again? All
Yep, it worked.
All right. So in fact, you are Zach Stern and you are not Jason Statham.
We actually played your
Statham?
song.
You got
We
the
played
Jason
your
Statham
song
look going.
because we were like, well, he's not here.
I missed my entrance music.
You did miss your entrance music. See? Yeah, there you go.
See?
You got it?
He's about to twerk in his
Oh, but
bakery.
it's-
All right,
It's
I
got to
turned
be
it
like
off.
cranked up.
I turned it off before YouTube flags us. There we go.
So
Okay.
first of all, how did it feel for you? Because I know we chatted about it a little bit when you got this news that you had been named a finalist, not just a nominee, but a finalist for a James Beard Award.
Oh, I felt great. I mean, who wouldn't feel great?
No, but
Yeah,
it's
to
more
be
complex.
recognized.
It's more complex than that. Than just like that feels good, right? It's some kind of like validation. maybe?
Definitely. No, I don't think it's validation. It's just recognition for all. There's been a lot of years in getting to where we are today, and we're certainly not done with where we're going. But it hasn't been all positive. It's been like ups and downs, and it's all of that emotion, all of the up, all of the down, all the anxiety, all the frustration, all the tears. It all just kind of bubbles up in that moment, and you just feel that emotion, and it's hard to put words to describe that. It's just emotional. Yeah.
And I think if you just look at the scene behind you, that's Zach the Baker. Like those half dozen people constantly in constant motion. Like Zach the Baker is not just the guy in front of me. He's the guy with the vision, but those people back there kind of make that all happen.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. It's certainly more than just me. That award, I'm representing it, but it's us as a team. It's also us as a community, because Zach the Baker is all the people kind of lifting us up and putting us on their shoulders throughout the years and nurturing us. It's way more than just me. I am the figurehead, and I'm the one that's been driving the ship. But certainly, it's a lot. There's a lot of us.
So tell me about that, because Zach the Baker, the logo on the bread, is this traditional looking guy with the beard, the way that you looked, 3 years ago, and you look different now. You shaved the beard. Can you talk? I heard you mention sometimes about the separation between Zach Stern the man, and Zach the Baker the business. Can you talk a little bit about that? Separating those things?
Yeah, I think any entrepreneur or business owner or someone who's passionate about their work, at a certain point of doing it after so many years, there tends to be this kind of this blending or this melting of your personal identity and your professional identity, and at some point it just all becomes this one glob of an identity. And at a certain point, I wanted to try and create some separation between the two, so that I can allow my personal identity and also our professional one to evolve on their own path, because they're not necessarily the same. Zach the Baker, the character is not a real thing. It's like it's a fictionalized hyperbole of myself. It's sort of like if I had a wrestling character, it would be Zach the Baker, and he would be
That's
this,
your Nacho Libre.
You got it. Yeah, he's this like radical centrist, stoic, that likes joy and wonder, and he's a character, right? And I didn't want to be a character. I wanted to be Zach, but I still want
And
to
it's
give
also
space
probably
for that
cooler,
character.
right?
Well, yeah. There's also like I'm being way more spiritual about it, but yeah, behind a mask, it's so much more functional and yeah, I'm happy about that. It gives me some space to evolve as a person, and I don't feel stuck representing the company when I'm home. when I'm out. You know what I mean?
Right.
Definitely.
But that Zach character was you for a time. Like as we talked about in the past, you were a little bit of a rudderless kid after like graduation, in the sense that you were kind of searching. You didn't know like what your next thing was gonna be. You didn't have like a very set life plan. Let's say. What was your life like upon grad? Like who was like you were a baggy pants, Miami-based kid in South Dade, right? Who was interested in pharmaceuticals in more than one way, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think I was a pretty typical Miami privileged kid from the suburbs.
What suburb
And,
are? Which suburb are you from? Where are you from exactly?
so I'm from Kendall, down by the hammocks. And then when I was a little bit older, around I don't know, 10 or so, we moved towards the Falls area.
So, do you live near? Did
unincorporated
you
Dade.
live near St. John Newman?
Oh gosh, yeah, we used to bicycle there to St. John Newman. They had this little ditch where we would get into trouble behind it. Yeah, St. John Newman was. I went to Leawood Elementary, so it was
You
that
went
whole.
to Leawood. Then did you go to Killian?
I went to Killian, but only after I did Palmetto. This is the tour of elementary schools and Palmetto, and then I left and went to Killian for 2 years. I finished at Killian.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's my neighborhood, Carlos. He lived in my neighborhood.
I know. Don't make him say his addresses again, like you
I
did
will not make you
Alex
say
Lacamoire,
that.
and we had to go edit those addresses out of the video. He's like, "Bro, my cousin still lives there, bro."
Sorry.
But
Anyway.
I think anyone that grows up in that area, it's impossible not to be impressionable with all the influences going around me. And sure, I grew up in like a gringo house, like a non-religious Jewish gringo house in Kendall, but Miami just seeps through, and it kind of influenced me. We talked about it. We'd have booty dances, and we would listen to DJ Laz and we listened to Roll Call and 99 Jams on the way to school in my mom's car.
Right.
This is what makes Miami, Miami, right?
Well,
This is our culture.
This neighborhood in general, like we're right by the JCC. My kid went to kindergarten there, and then the Leawood area. A lot of the kids who went to the JCC, they go to that school too. So it's a very mixed area in this particular part too. But so
Yeah.
did you always want to open a shop in Wynwood in particular, or were you looking all over the city when you decided that you wanted to have a place?
No, none of this was some master plan. I wouldn't have called the path rudderless. It was just like this journey, and then things would happen, and then we'd get shifted, and then eventually, when I was baking in the garage, the question was, all right, what's next? So then there was the commissary, actually, before Wynwood, which was in Hialeah, near the Fifth Shop, Red, White, and Blue.
Oh yeah.
And at that point, it was a realization that we were just too big for what we're doing. But the leap from commissary to retail is a big leap, and it requires a lot of real estate savvy and money, and it also requires you're open for service, right? It's not just baking in the warehouse anymore. So it was a big leap, and it was scary, but we had a lot of help. Our real estate developers, they were really helpful. I was so naive back then. I didn't know what I was doing.
Did you get into Wynwood before? Did you get into Wynwood at like a prime moment though? Like was it like if you were trying to get into Wynwood
prime,
now?
like real estate prime?
Yeah.
No, you
I
could
guess
own the
you would
property
call
if you
that
got in
a
a prime
prime
moment.
No, I'm just saying, did you get in before it got too crazy? Like if you were looking for a space right now, would you be able to go into Wynwood?
Yeah, I mean, I got into Wynwood when it was just emerging.
Right.
And I was attracted to Wynwood because there was this local independent craftsman movement happening in this one concentrated area, and I wanted to be part of that and contribute to that because that was something that spoke to me. There was the Wynwood Brewery, there was Panther, obviously. Matt Sherman from Hugo Fresh was right down the corner. There was this local independent thing happening, and it was real, and it was honest, and it was exciting for all of us. And then, in Miami fashion, got a lot of people's attention, and they saw opportunity, and it just exploded. And what should have taken 25, 30 years to grow, organically, it took 5 years.
Right.
And here we are.
But Zach,
Yeah.
you did something, speaking to that artisanal nature and people that wanted to learn a craft. You did that overseas. and then you had people that would kind of stay and intern with you here in Miami also, right? Like folks who were just learning, you were learning from them, they were learning from you. Talk to me about that a little bit. 'Cause I thought that was so fascinating. It was very
Yeah,
bohemian.
that was very bohemian. Once upon a time, I was very bohemian.
Yeah, well, start there. Start with what you were doing in Italy and Israel, like what that looked like.
So the learning of the craft was I was basically living on farms doing work trades and hope that I can learn something along the way. And so I would go to these farmers. I had a list of all the organic farmers, and I would say, hey, I can work for you for for the day, and can you give me room and board? And I would pick places that I thought I can learn something from, and some of the places that I picked were great, and I learned a lot from, and some of them were not. I didn't always make connection, but when I did connect, I would stay there for at least a year at a time, and I feel like along with the craft that I learned, I also learned the work ethic. Just how to work hard all day, from the sun up to the sundown, and kind of this country farmer humility, right? A little bit more connected to the basics of life. That's harder to feel that in the city. It's still here. I think all of that, connection, it exists in the city. It's just there's a lot more distractions that make it difficult for us to make those connections in the city.
That was quite a leap for you, right? Because your parents were not farmers, right? Your dad was. Your mom and dad.
No
what did
farms
they
in
do for a
Kendall.
living?
My dad worked at Saks Fifth Avenue in Val Harbor.
Right. Okay.
He was a salesman in the shoe department, so a lot of the ladies in Miami know him and still know him. And my mom was an administrator at a local fireplace store down on US 1. And so, no, agriculture, craftsmanship, culinary, none of those things were found in my house. But in my house, there was an openness to go and find what it is that you do want and love. And so there was a lot of support for my rebelliousness. And I think the rebelliousness that they saw early on was kind of like young and out of control a little bit. But as it got older, the rebelliousness was I was rebelling against what I was missing here in Miami. I was longing for an archetype that I related to, and it was craftsmanship, and it was culinary and agriculture. All those things I wanted to learn. I just didn't know what it was, And once I went out there and started to find it, I went nuts. I went off. Yeah, and so they were really supportive.
And those things are, what you're talking about is things that are physical and tangible, a thing that at the end of the day you've made something and you can hold it in your hands.
Yeah, creating something from nothing. Yeah, there's something very satisfying about that, and there's something very satisfying I discovered about being a part of the process. I think typically processed foods get a bad rap, but I don't think it has to be. I think we could, if we're a part of the process, processed foods like bread and cheese and all these incredible processes of life can be beautiful. We've just, over the years, I'm sure we all know, like we've become a bit distant from the processes. And so that's part of the mission here, is to connect the consumer and the producer and share the process so we can see it, feel connected with it.
Now, there are two ways that I know that your parents are proud of you. One is that your mom was a regular, a cashier, not just cashier, kind of a do-everything at your bakeries, even from the beginning, right? Mom and dad at some point, right?
Oh, yeah. My mom used to help occasionally do deliveries. She would go to Michelle Bernstein's place, and embarrass me and walk in with a bag of bread. She's like, "I'm Zach the baker's mom." It just drove me nuts. Like, can't you just drop the bread off and
you don't have
not
to talk to
introduce
anyone,
yourself?
Mom.
But at this point, I get it. And Carlos, actually, you've helped me understand that it gives her a lot of pride and nachas, as we say, and I think she really enjoys it. So every dinner she goes to, she'll mention it to the waiter.
Well,
the busboy,
you're one of the best online reviews that you have is from your dad, Harvey. And another one is an email that I got earlier this week that reads in part, "Harvey and I are very happy about this article about Zach making the finalist of the James Beard Award. He's an amazing kid, and of course, we are so proud of him."
Hercules.
Oh,
Hercules,
Carlos,
Hercules,
Leslie and
Hercules,
Leslie and Harvey Stern. Hercules, Hercules, yes.
Hercules.
We are so
Thanks a lot,
proud of our
Carlos.
baby.
That's it, guys.
Oh,
I have been overwhelmed with support and love. And when I talk about being privileged, I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about that. And oftentimes it's embarrassing, right? And I prefer, not to be around when that's happening. But the reality is, it's an incredible privilege to have that amount of emotional support from parents. And I hope that I can give that to my kids, like my parents gave to me.
You've really had quite the Miami experience, I think, as a person. Look at him shaking his head. He's like,
You
is this my
jerk.
life?
You read the whole email.
how dare you?
I didn't read the whole email. I spared you. I spared you. I
Okay.
only read it in part. That's
He
that's
didn't
because I
show
like
the
you.
picture she sent too.
Oh,
Here's Zach
guys.
as a
Funny-
little boy. Look
Here's
at him
his
without
funny
pants.
pajamas.
Look at him out in the yard without his pants. Actually, his mom doesn't sound like that at all. But
Not at all. But when I caricature my parents, it's always that. It's always like a New York Jewish mom and dad.
Zachy, put on your pants. Stop running around naked in the backyard.
Wonderful.
Carlos.
Great podcast, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
So to get a little bit serious, the pandemic came and everybody. It's funny because this bakery, I feel like it's something that you're learning with everything along the way. I kind of have seen, as you expand to a new location and like, all right, now we're delivering to 10 places and now it's 100 places. Now I have 200 accounts and now I'm in all the Whole Foods. And then all of that came to a kind of a crashing halt at, with the pandemic. And you had this production facility, right, where you're still making bread for all these places, but then you also had this cafe, and you're balancing these two things. What can you say about that time? Like, what was that like for you, and overcoming some of those challenges?
I think our time was like everyone else's time, and you were there, Carlos. You saw me in that moment. It was a scary moment. The bakery was effectively cut in half. Right, the cafe is closed. People were coming up to the counter to buy things, but we were scared. We didn't know what the future was. We didn't know what tomorrow was. We didn't know how long it was going to be. So there was all of that. We didn't know if there was going to be government support either. At that time, like, we were just bleeding money. And then, meanwhile, I've got like my personal things, and my kids. They live in Israel, and so how am I supposed to go see them? So
Right, you
it
had
was
a
a
really.
really
That was a really because I have 3 daughters, and I'm I haven't been married in a long time, so trying to keep and establish a relationship with them and be a good father to them is difficult, even when you are, I live within 10 miles of them, and for a time they go back and forth, right? Like they mostly live in Israel now with your ex-partner, your ex-wife. And you're here, and I know that especially during the pandemic when you couldn't travel, that must have been incredibly difficult. I can only imagine.
yeah, it was difficult. I mean, everyone in the industry, whether it was the operators or whether it was the team, everyone was scared at that point, and we were scared too. And we didn't know what the future was going to be. And there was a lot there. Now looking back, there's a lot that we can learn from that. I think there's a lot of things I'm very proud of what we did. There's some things that I know we could have done better. And I think, like anything in business and in life, we look back without judgment and see what happened, why did it happen, and what can we do to improve that in the future. And that really, that it's a really strong moment, the COVID, but that's what we do. That's what we've been doing for 10 years now, is looking back, trying to do it without too much judgment and guilt and shame, and trying to be honest about our weaknesses and our strengths. We are very much a real independent bakery that is trying to be better. And on the outside, a lot of people, they really want us to be their hero. And but the reality is, we have a lot to learn. Still, we've come a long way, but we have so much more to learn. And the more
Zach,
time we spend,
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
go ahead.
What do you think? What is the biggest lesson that you learned from that period? Oh my God, wait a second.
Oh gosh.
Who is that bro in the gorilla suit behind you? Turn around right now. Other side.
The other side. There's a man in a gorilla suit behind him.
You know, it's a really tough labor market right now, and the focus really needs to be on retention because, and he's a little prickly. He's got anger issues, but I think when he's sweeping,
He gets in the
he's
zone.
calm.
He gets in the zone.
And that's where we are right now. It's a really tough labor market. So I think everyone, not just us, is doing whatever they can to get by with grace and yeah.
And he works for bananas, so that's the guy in the grill. The grill man works in bananas, so that's. Ba-dum-ts.
He's been with us for a long time, and he's come a long way also.
I know that you have fun in that bakery. Like every time that I see you there, and I see you there often when I've just popped in, because you don't often see the owner of the business in the place, you know. And I often see you there, and when you're there, you never have this face of consternation. People there are consistently having fun. Yeah, hirsute.
Maybe you've just caught me when I've had enough food in my belly, because I'm a grumpy dude when I'm hungry.
Oh, you get hangry.
Of course, yeah. But I like being at the bakery. I like being present. I think that's what makes a place special. When I go to Boyade and I see Lucci and Alex there, you know, working, keep like running the place, it makes me feel happy that I'm in their home. You know, there's an intimacy, and I want that intimacy here. Even though that we've grown and we've gotten bigger, I think it's important, and that's really influenced our growth strategy too. Is we want to stay on a human size, like we want to keep growing and evolving and becoming whatever we can become, but at a pace that we're comfortable with, and something that we can keep the intimacy with the community. I think it's important.
You know, you said something once to me that has always stuck with me. You said that it's odd to have people celebrate artisans, but you're like, I guess that's better than what Miami usually does, which is celebrate Lamborghinis and sex and Lamborghinis. You know.
Yeah, I'll take it. I think it's odd to celebrityism in general. I think is a bit strange on both sides of it, right? But I welcome the balance in Miami. You know, we all know what Miami is and what Miami isn't. And I think it's important, instead of focusing on all the things that we don't like, right? Focus on the things that we want to see in Miami. And if they're going to celebrate a craftsman that's making pure sourdough bread, that's an independent local bakery, well, shit, that's great, I think. And I think if that can hopefully inspire a few more people to keep their business local and independent, so we can continue to foster this culture of Miami culture, you know, and instead of just continuing to bring it in from New York and California or wherever, I think that's a good thing. I'm all for it.
All right, so can I ask you about one of those very Miami moments? This was like a couple years ago. I think, you know, I had only written about you once or twice, and then one of your bakery trucks was on the news, like the O.J. Simpson truck driving through Miami. Your bakery trucks are these white commercial trucks that just says in big, bold black letters on the side, bakery. And it's being chased by police. What was happening, bro?
And who was it that Telemundo was the one that called our phone and told me about it? That's how I found out about it. They wanted
That's
to get
so perfect. That could not have been more perfect.
You know, it's a really wild thing from the outside. From the inside, though, it was kind of scary because we have 6 white trucks that all look identical. This is like a scene out of Die Hard. I don't know which one.
Oh my God.
And all of our trucks were getting pulled over with guns out. And you can imagine how terrified some of our drivers were when they got pulled over, guns out. We were scared. We were scared, honestly. I know, like, when it settled, we all, like, laughed about it and thought, wow, this is ridiculous, only in Miami. But the reality is it was kind of a terrifying day for us.
God, well, that, you know, you're telling that story, and I see the guy in the gorilla suit behind you, and it just kind of, as the British say, it takes the piss out of it. So, you've managed to find a way to like roll with these punches. Like a few years ago, people forget that there was a whole Zika outbreak
Right?
that started in Wynwood, and that like affected businesses in Wynwood. That was like a COVID training ground.
Yeah, it was like pre-COVID,
And you did like a whole
mini COVID.
limpieza. You had I always remember there was video of you doing a limpieza, like putting an altar or something.
Yeah, I mean, what more can you do? The reality is, when we get punched, it still hurts,
Yeah.
right? It hurts, and it's no fun. It is a part of the process, right? Of learning is getting kind of smacked in the face a little bit and facing the reality that we still have more to learn. And as great as everyone continues to say that we are, we know our reality and that we have flaws and we got a lot to work on. But that being said, there is an effort to make space for joy. Our work is really hard. It's very physical. It's very repetitive. It's every day, creating something from nothing. Go through the whole process, and then the next day, like the sand artists, of the Buddhist monks, just disappears, and we start it all over again. And that's hard. It's hard work. So it's nice to make space for joy when we can. It's just we have to be humble and honest about, like, not every moment is a time for joy. Sometimes it's a moment of reflection and honesty, and we've had plenty of those, and COVID was a big one of those. And we slowly crawled our way and get back at it. One of the reasons I think that we stay strong is because, first of all, we're independent. We don't have any financial partners that are forcing us to grow any faster than we need to. So that keeps us at the right size that we need to be to kind of handle a hurricane, a Zika, right, a pandemic. And it gives us a chance to build our roots deep, like a taproot. That way, if the winds start blowing, we're not going to topple over. And this is one of the big reasons why I think independent business is so important, because if you don't have all the money in the world to spend to grow and grow and grow, your growth is moderated by the amount of money that you actually make, right? So our growth is incremental, and it's moderate, and it's humble. And so therefore we're able to withstand things that come our way.
Yeah, Carlos and I were talking about that before, that the people that were able to kind of survive and sometimes thrive in the pandemic were people who didn't have a lot of infrastructure, people who didn't have like a lot of financial demands on them, and they were more nimble, and they could contract easily because there weren't as many pressures on them. And then the people who just had no overhead at all, people who were working from Instagram and delivering from the apps and stuff. So in your situation, how much expansion would you consider before you're like, I don't want to do this anymore? Like, would you ever like open a Zach the Baker in Kendall, or like open, you know what I'm saying? Would you
Look at you angling. Look at you angling. Get out of your house. Get in your car.
I'm sorry, where do you live again?
Kendall?
What's your address?
Kendale.
over by But no, I'm just saying, like, have you been presented with the idea of like, I could really expand, but I don't know if I can handle it,
We get offered a lot to expand. People come in here and they see the success of what's going on. They see, it packed, and they think, oh, let's just go replicate this in New York, in Aventura, LA, whatever, right? And I take that as like a pride, like, oh, thank you. You like what we're doing, but it's actually not necessarily a great idea to go and try to replicate this somewhere. I think we have a long way to go before we can even begin that conversation, because we are not the bakery I want us to be. And if we start replicating what we have now, we're going to be replicating a flawed model, right? And so it's not necessarily going to be a success if it opens in New York. And then also, I don't necessarily want to open up bakeries all over the country. That doesn't sound like a particularly great life, right? This is manageable right now, and I think we have a long way to go before we even entertain that conversation.
You mentioned about finding joy, especially in a business that's tough, that's hard, that's physically laborious, even physically exhausting. So what are some of the things in the last couple of years that have brought you joy, that have really been sources of joy for you, places that you go to when you need to be happy or smile or just laugh?
I think one of the main things is just making time for myself personally to allow me to continue to evolve and grow as a human. When I opened the business, I feel like my personal self just kind of got stunted at 26 when I opened, right? So all of
Wow,
my
26.
literature
Wow.
and music, everything just stopped because all of my creative and physical and mental and spiritual energy went into the bakery. And then I had children, so then it went into the children.
Right.
So it's a lot of giving of energy, and it took some time to realize that I need energy for myself too, and I want that. And yeah, there was a lot of kind of a guilt to get over of like, oh, it's not okay to give to myself because the bakery needs me. There's always something going on, or my children. But the reality is, in order for me to be a good dad or a good leader at the bakery, I've got to be on solid footing.
So literature, what are you reading? What things have you
Right
read?
now?
Or what have you, yeah, right now, and what have you read that it's like, oh, I'm so glad I got around to that, or something that was
Right
unexpected?
now is Shuggy Bane. Have you guys heard of Shuggy Bane? It's a great. I mostly like fiction.
Okay, same here.
Shuggy
Yep.
Bane is the one I'm reading now. The last one was The Vanishing Half.
Yep.
I don't know if
Okay.
you've heard of that one. And then the one before that was When We Cease to Understand What We Know, which is really interesting. It was kind of fiction, kind of nonfiction. It felt like a whole new genre in itself, mostly about science and physics and something that I really normally wouldn't get into, but it was fascinating. But yeah, just fiction.
Do you feel like that's something that's you like you're coming back around to, like having, like you said, having that time in your period where you were working and you were parenting and you were hustling, where you're kind of leaning back a little bit to like Bohemian Zach, where like, all right, I'm gonna enjoy some things in life. I'm gonna enjoy what I'm doing every day.
I mean, essentially, yeah. I don't know if it's still going to be Bohemian Zach. I've gone through all these, I don't know, evolutions. When I
Mm-hmm.
started, I was kind of like sports Zach, and then it turned into like, I don't know, a little preppy Zach, and then it went into, two subwoofers in my trunk Zach with the
Yes.
Fedora chain.
Yes.
And then it kind of moved into like classic rock Zach, which then kind of went into hippie Zach. And I think, we want to put these labels on what it is. It's just tasting parts of life and trying things on and seeing what fits and what feels right. But you need to have some space for that exploration, and I want to keep exploring. I don't want to just be locked in at 26-year-old entrepreneurial hustle Zach. I want to keep growing as a person.
All right, let's go through it. Who was Sports Zach into? What was Sports Zach into?
Sports Zach was like I was my parents' kids. I was my parents' kid. I played baseball, right? I played basketball.
What were you best
I
at?
wore like.
And
I
what did
was
you
pretty
like
good at
being?
baseball.
And what did you like most? Because sometimes you're not the best at what you like most.
I was pretty good at most sports. Baseball, I really enjoyed baseball. I still have like these dreams of going back and getting a chance to play again in Little League. I have some great memories of that.
Well, you should just live that out through your children. That's what you're supposed to do now.
right. You
Yeah,
stress
That's what
them.
you're supposed to do.
Just live it
Great
out through your
parenting
kids.
advice. Thank you.
No problem.
Remember that.
Amy's doing that now with her daughter,
Yeah,
man.
I know.
She's got her in track. He's like,
Dude,
you
my
will be
daughter's
great.
a track star, and I am so excited about it.
Well, my kids didn't. It's not exactly what I thought it was all going to be. My kids
Big
live in
surprise.
Israel. They're being raised religious. I have two religious girls that are Israelis, and so it's not exactly what I thought it was going to be. But they're such beautiful girls, and I love them so much. I love being a dad of girls. I think it's so much fun.
Welcome to the club. You're speaking to both. I have three. Amy's got one, and that's it does change your life in ways that you can't see coming. That's for sure.
Gosh, yeah.
Who is Subwoofer Zach? I want to hear about Subwoofer Zach. I want to hear about the car that was in, and of course those woofers were Rockford Fosgates, right? They were 10-inch Rockford Fosgates.
Shit, yeah. I was
That was
impressionable
very specific,
and
Carlos.
No, because I'm from Miami,
no,
and I know.
Rockford Fosgate used to be a big deal.
Yeah.
I had my mom's old Honda Accord,
Perfect.
and
Yes.
in the trunk I had two subs.
A box,
and,
right? A box?
I I had they were in a box. That's right,
Nice.
and I had an amp. I think it was 400 by 2 or 800 by 2, and I would listen to like Nelly.
On the 874. Just,
You were listening to what?
What?
Finish
So
he
that
was listening to
sentence.
Nelly on. He was listening
Nelly.
to Nelly on the 874. He was.
So, I have to be honest. It's a little. I look back. It's a little cringy, but you know what? I mean, I was going through it. I was figuring it out. My friends still make fun of me about it.
Baggy
And,
pants. Baggy pants.
Good thing we
Was
didn't
I
have
in
like
baggy
camera
pants?
phones back then. You know, like there would have been a lot of evidence for blackmail.
Man, I think it's terrible. Like kids don't have the
Yeah, I
opportunity
feel
to be
bad for these
cringy.
kids.
They don't
Yeah,
have an
I feel bad.
opportunity to be cringy,
Yeah,
or they
that's why-
embrace the cringe. I don't know. I like Mike. I'm still figuring out. My kids.
I say embrace it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
embrace it.
So Zach, when you're hanging out in Miami, like where do you like to go out to eat?
I'd like
with
to
your
go
chef
to,
with your chef bros, which
Yeah,
I
where
know
do you and
I've
your
seen
chef
you
bros
online.
go hang out?
That really. I mean, I feel like we've gone to most places, but it's really about just us hanging out together and being boys, and it turns into this sort of like boys therapy club of us just needing to be together and vent a little bit and talk about our personal lives and talk about the things that are not pretty, maybe, that we talk about on social media, right? A little bit more of the harder things, and it doesn't really matter where we go. We just need to have some drinks and feel some brotherly love. It's important, and we're all very different. That crew of chef friends that go out and eat, but it doesn't really matter so much where we go. We just need some drinks.
Amy, you should see photos of these guys. They look like the cover for the 6th season of Entourage.
Is that right? Is that what it looks like?
Chef
Oh my
Bros.
God, totally. It's
Chef
you.
Bros,
Okay,
now on
so
HBO.
it's I've seen you, Matt Kusher, Jose Mendin, and Mike Beltran. That seems to be the
Yeah, what a
Squad.
weird
The
what a
crew.
weird group we are too. We're so different, all of us, but it's so beautiful. Yeah, it's an odd group.
No, but I think it's a very Miami group. Like Mike is this Cuban American kid from Little Havana, and Matt Kusher is this like Puerto Rican Jewish kid, and Mending is from also from the island of Puerto Rico, but he kind of made his cooking career here, and he's got his his sushi restaurants and Pub Belly, which
I'd
was my
watch
favorite
that
for
show.
so long.
I would
Right?
for real
I would
watch
right.
that show.
Let's make that show. If anybody hears that, I would make that show.
Make it.
No, but guys, here's the thing: if you make that into a show, then we're going to be back working again. What's
Oh,
great
God.
about that is
true.
it's for us. You know what I mean? There's there's no cameras around. We can open up. We can kind of let our hair down, so to speak.
No. Fictionalize. We don't need to follow you around. We'll give you that. We'll give
Yeah,
you
no,
that.
we'll just-
Which, look, we'll get a good showrunner. We'll write a treatment. That's it. We're gonna make so much money on this. Entourage season 6.
I don't know, guys. I don't buy it.
Zach,
I don't buy it.
I believe me. Trust me. The photo will carry it. All right. So let me
Right.
ask you a question. Do you have a bad food take? Do you have any bad food takes? Things that people criticize you for?
An opinion about food that people think is stupid. That's what a bad food take is. Like something that most people are like, why? Like, ew.
I'm not sure I understand it perfectly. I can tell you something that bothers me at restaurants.
Okay.
QR codes. Can we please have a real menu so I can be off my phone at a restaurant? I understand during the pandemic because of touchless, but I think it's time to bring back an actual menu. I go to like a nice restaurant and then I have to bring out my phone and look at my thing and do this and
Yeah,
and then
that's annoying. That's a real pain.
I love the menu, and that's part of the experience for me is to see the menu broadly and to hold it and to touch it. And maybe I'm old fashioned, but I think that's part of the experience. And I think the QR code lessens that. So if you want to hear a personal, I guess, peeve of mine is QR codes. I'm not a fan of them.
So there's no QR codes at the bakery, is what you're saying. No more of that.
There was
There were.
during the pandemic. It made a lot of sense, but as quickly as we could, we moved back to a menu. I think maybe outside they might have a QR code still like lingering. It probably doesn't work. Knowing us, we're not great with those things. But
You know what I like about your bakery, and I was just thinking about it, is that it's a very much a reflection of Miami. Like you can get a guava and cheese pastelito at your bakery, and you can also get a quote unquote BLT with like smoked salmon. Like I think that those are all those things live together. Like why was that?
Yeah.
Was that important to you to like kind of be very reflective of Miami culture? And what else? What else am I missing there?
It's definitely deliberate. I want us to be an artisan bakery that is certified kosher, that is carrying on the tradition, but that still has the ability to absorb the culture that is growing and changing around us and influence who we are. Right? I don't want us to be a museum of what was. I want us to be honoring the tradition while still living in the present and moving it forward at the same time. That's a lot to take on at once, but part of that is letting those Miami Caribbean Latino influences come inside and influence who we are. And to be honest, it's majority of our team, is Caribbean or Latino. And there's not many. There's only one observant kosher person here, and that's our mashgiach. That's our kosher supervisor who's here to make sure that we're staying kosher. Besides that, it's a truly Miami team, and I think that's beautiful. I think a community bakery, it's fun to have it reflect the people that are out there, the community that's around it.
And you did something I think it's interesting is that even though you grew up not culturally Jewish but not religious, the bakery is kosher, and you could have changed that over the years. You could have just said, you know what, I'm gonna open on Saturday, which would be your busiest day, but you haven't done that. Tell me about that kind of balance and that decision.
Yeah, it's true that I kind of stumbled into us being kosher. That wasn't another deliberate decision that I had. It was because my ex-wife, my ex-religious wife, was religious, and that was important to her, and so I did it really not knowing what it was I was agreeing to. And then after time went by,
That's very
truly,
that's very on point. Yep.
that's who I was back then. I was getting into things. I was naive, At a certain point, though, it just became who we were. It just became part of our fabric, and I started to like the inclusiveness of being kosher, because typically kosher institutions they're all kind of together in the shtetl where all the kosher community is. So then the community typically sticks to that kosher area, but we're not in the kosher. Well, for instance, Surfside or North Miami Beach.
Sure.
It's very unorthodox for a kosher place to be outside of the shtetl, the community. And that gives them a chance to leave, come, and then interact with the rest of the community. And it creates this very unique situation where religious, non-religious, non-Jewish are able to be together. And besides the airport, there's not many places where different tribes come together for a joyful activity, right? The DMV, we all come together, but it sucks. So is there a place where we can have common ground that can be joyful? And I think when all of our ACs are working and all of our team is here, we can be that place sometimes.
All right, Viejo. Something that we do with every guest is we play a little game of Kiss, Marry, Kill with food. So we pick three items that we believe are dear to your heart, and we force you to choose which one you would kiss, which one you would marry, and which you'd have to kill off. So,
okay.
So I'm gonna hit you with three of the items that I love from your bakery, and you tell me.
Oh, you're picking my items. Okay.
Yeah. So, and you got to kiss, marry, kill. So, let's say arugula, a pastelito, and your bagel. Kiss, marry, kill.
I'm not sure how to answer that.
Putting you on the spot,
Which
man.
one do I want to get rid of? I don't want to get rid of any of them, Carlos.
Well, you got to do it.
This is the sacrifice.
This is the sacrifice. This is the game.
Well, the reality is we've already killed the arugula due to our production labor shortages. So
Oh, no.
I guess that was the one. It's coming
Oh,
back.
no.
It's coming back. It's just this is one of the ways that we've been able to ride the waves that have been thrown at us is by reducing our product line and increasing when we're able to bring it back. So I suppose that is the kill.
He beat the game, Amy. He
Yeah, he
beat the
did.
game.
He beat the game.
He beat the game. I can't believe
Well,
it.
now
All
you
right,
gotta
so
marry and you gotta kiss.
now you got to kiss and marry. You got to kiss or marry
Yep.
a pastelito or
I
a
don't know.
bagel.
I guess like which one do I want to like settle down with? I would
Which one
settle
is
down
your
with
everyday boo, and which one is your like,
Your side piece.
your cuerno?
I guess yeah. So the kiss is the pastelito. Truth is, I don't eat a lot of sweets. I'm more of a savory guy. So of course I'm tasting everything, but I'm never like I'll have just a touch, and then move on. I want to save room for the savory, and then Mary. I guess the bagel is very very practical.
That's very practical. So what's your favorite item? Like, what is it that you guys bake there that is really like the thing that is for you almost?
What is the thing that is for me almost? I really like our sourdough whole wheat bread, especially the sandwich one. And I know that's a really nerdy bread because it's a sandwich bread and it's
Talk about a
it's
safe
sliced.
choice.
Well, it's my day to day. You know what
Sure.
I do is I take it, I freeze it, I slice it, and then I just take out piece by piece. That's like the workhorse in my house is that sourdough whole wheat.
That's the
It's,
one I get at Whole Foods, right? That's the one they sell at Whole
Yeah.
Foods. Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that one. Because
And also the
I
sandwich
would have
bread.
to go
if
to
you-
Wynwood for it.
This one
That's
too,
it?
right here. This is the sourdough sandwich bread that South is loading up in the oven. That one's really good too.
God, if the
Yeah,
audio
that was
podcast
good.
folks they got to get on YouTube to see it because
Damn.
that looks so beautiful.
I want to eat all that bread.
all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what?
That's all. That's all for Whole Foods.
You taught me one of the best life hacks ever, and that's I love having like bagels on the weekend, and you were just like buy the bagels fresh, cut them first, and freeze them, and then you pop them in the toaster for like on a low setting, and then they're perfect, And
I mean, that's what I do
bread.
for my day to day during the week. If you want the best of the best, you come in the morning and you get the best of the best when everything is in its like prime moment, like an hour or two out of the oven. That's the sweet spot. But practically speaking, like day to day, for those of us that have lives and jobs and things, it's nice to freeze it and have it on hand.
Well, Zach the Baker, Zach Stern. Look for his new TV show Entourage,
No,
Entourage
Bakery Bros.
Bakery Bros.
Bakery Bros.
Season
Oh God,
6.
guys, that sounds awful. I would never watch that.
No, I would watch that show.
You would watch the
I would watch the hell out of that show.
Zach, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for making time. I hope that this has been fun and not too cringy for you.
No, you guys are great. Thanks for having me. I'm honored to be here, and thanks for celebrating us and to the community. Thanks for pushing us forward. I really appreciate it.
And congrats on the James Beard. You enjoy it now because one of 5 people in the entire country. That is not a small thing.
That's a quite an accomplishment. Top 5.
Thank you guys.
You podium.
We've celebrated. We've all had lots of drinks and l'chaim, and we've celebrated, and we're really pleased to be in that rare air.
All right, man. Well, thanks again for making time, brother. We'll talk to you down the way.
Bye, Zach. Nice to meet
Okay,
you.
guys. Take care. Thank you.
Deuces.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bro, what was up with the gorilla?
I don't know. I was like, why is Amy laughing? And then I look in this.
Oh my God! And he was like talking about something serious too, and I was like, oh my God, that's a gorilla in the background.
But honestly, like, and the deadpanness of like, yeah, a guy in a gorilla suit.
yeah, he
all
works
good.
here.
It's all
He
good.
works here.
Well, Amy, despite all our technical difficulties, I believe
We got through a show.
I believe that is a show.
That is a show. All
So,
right. Next week.
Next week, we'll have other fun stuff and fun people. We're aiming to have Matt Kusher, who we mentioned, but because of technical difficulties, who knows, that may change.
You never know.
But you never know. That was fun.
All right.
Deuces.
Bye.
Bye.